Numa was traditionally celebrated by the Romans for his wisdom and piety. In addition to the endorsement by Jupiter, he is supposed to have had a direct and personal relationship with a number of deities, most famously the nymph Egeria, who, according to legend, taught him to be a wise legislator. According to Livy, Numa claimed that he held nightly consultations with Egeria on the proper manner of instituting sacred rites for the city. Numa then appointed the priests for each of the deities. Plutarch suggests that he played on superstition to give himself an aura of awe and divine allure, in order to cultivate more gentle behavior among the warlike early Romans, honoring the gods, abiding by law, behaving humanely to enemies, and living proper, respectable lives. Numa was said to have authored several sacred books in which he had written down divine teachings, mostly from Egeria and the Muses. Plutarch, citing Valerius Antius and Livy, record that at his request he was buried along with these sacred books, preferring that the rules and rituals they prescribed be preserved in the living memory of the state priests, rather than preserved as relics subject to forgetfulness and disuse. About half of these books Plutarch and Livy differ on their number were thought to cover the priesthoods he had established or developed, including the Flamines, Pontifices, Salii and Fetials and their rituals. The other books dealt with philosophy disciplina sapientiae. According to Plutarch, these books were recovered some 400 years later, in reality almost 500 years, i.e. in 181 BC according to Livy 40:29:3-14 at the occasion of a natural accident that exposed the tomb. They were examined by the Senate, deemed to be inappropriate for disclosure to the people, and burned. Dionysius of Halicarnassus hints that they were actually kept as a very close secret by the Pontifices. Numa is reputed to have constrained the two minor gods Picus and Faunus into delivering some prophecies of things to come. Numa, supported and prepared by Egeria, reportedly held a battle of wits with Jupiter himself, through an apparition whereby Numa sought to gain a protective ritual against lightning strikes and thunder. Once, when a plague was ravaging the population, a brass shield fell from the sky and was brought to Numa. He declared that Egeria had told him it was a gift from Jupiter, to be used for Rome's protection. He ordered ceremonies to give thanks for the gift, and quickly brought about an end to the plague. The ancile became a sacred relic of the Romans and was placed in the care of the Salii. Livy narrates that, in 181 BC, while digging in the field of the Scriba L. Pompilius at the foot of the Ioniculum, peasants found two stone coffers, 8 feet long and 4 feet wide, inscribed both in Latin and in Greek characters, one stating that Numa Pompilius, son of Pompon, king of the Romans, was buried there, and the other that Numa's books were inside it. When Pompilius, after the advice of his friends, opened it, the one that was inscribed with the name of the king was found empty, the other containing 2 bundles each of 7 books, not complete but looking very recent, 7 in Latin dealing with pontifical law and 7 in Greek of philosophy, as it was in that remote past. The books were shown to other people and the fact became public. Praetor Q. Pompilius, who was friends with L. Pompilius, requested them, found them very dangerous to religion and told Lucius he would have them burnt, but he allowed him to try and recover them by legal or other means. The scriba brought the case to the tribunes of the plebs, and the tribunes in turn brought it to the Senate. The praetor declared he was ready to swear an oath that it was not a good thing either to read or to store those books, and the Senate deliberated that the offer of the oath was sufficient by itself, that the books be burnt on the comitium as soon as possible, and that an indemnity fixed by the praetor and the tribunes be paid to the owner. L. Pompilius though declined to accept the sum. The books were burnt by the victimarii. The action of the praetor has been seen as politically motivated, and in accord with the Catonian reaction of those years. It is relevant though that some of the annalists of those times, or only a few years later, do not seem to show any doubt about the authenticity of the books. The whole incident has been critically analyzed again by philologist E. Peruzzi, who by comparing the different versions, strives to demonstrate the overall authenticity of the books. By contrast, M. J. Penna's position is more reserved and critical. Francophone scholars A. Delit and J. Carcopino believe the incident to be the result of a real initiative of the Pythagorean sect of Rome. The fears of the Roman authorities should be explained in connection to the nature of the doctrines contained in the books, which are supposed to have contained a type of physicos logos, a partly moral and partly cosmological interpretation of religious beliefs that has been proven by Delit to be proper of the ancient Pythagorism. Part of it must have been in contradiction with the beliefs of fulgural and augural art and of the procuratio of the prodigies. Most ancient authors relate the presence of treatises of Pythagorean philosophy, but some, as Sempronius Tuditanus, mention only religious decrees.